So in terms of getting a rowboat or inflatable,
Welcome to the Harbor Committee meeting, December 11th. This is a special meeting for approval of applications for commercial passenger vessels and fisherman float applications.
Great.
So, where do we start? Let's start with let's start. Commercial passenger vessels. We have applications for Ray Williamson, for the Sally,
Part of the new requirements?
for Camden Harbor Cruises, for Lively Lady, for Ramiro for Schooner Surprise, for Jeffrey Beck, Judith Hayes for the Heritage, for Sean O'Connor for Lazy Jack, for Aaron Lincoln for Schooner Olad, and for Aaron Lincoln Cutter Owl.
one question, when I looked at stuff online, one of the applications in one of the piles didn't seem to have any of the contact information filled in.
Yeah, it's been corrected.
Okay.
Right, that was Scott.
Yeah.
I don't remember, I just remember one, I thought that unless there was double coverage somewhere, it should be filled in.
Yep. We caught that. Okay. Discussion?
I only had one question about and this is the whole one boat, two boat application.
Yes.
And the answer to one question from the harbor master was no problems, didn't use the dock last season.
Which boat?
For Sally. And so my question was it in the water? Is this part of the whole, it will be in the water next summer? Because it's based on this, that this is happening, is my understanding. Am I right?
Yes.
But, I mean, am I right about that if this boat isn't in the water, then this application is not?
That's correct, and you understand that, Ray?
This boat doesn't want to go in.
With the new agreements, where is it? Second boat license agreement. Operation and sales of a second boat must have and operate a commercial passenger vessel with a day sailor addendum. So the first boat has to operate in order to run a second boat.
Okay. Is there a question?
Well, you didn't do that last year. I mean, are you prepared to do it this year?
That's my intention, yeah.
Why didn't the boat run last year?
The guy who was gonna run it for me, he had to do something else, and I was having my regular crew get the boat ready, and then I realized, you know what, it's so late in the season, put it in, that, I just said, let's skip it.
Did Sally run in 2018?
Yep.
All season?
Well, she was in the water all season, and, you know, ran sporadically, but not,
I guess
full force effort.
a cart before the horse question. On the second boat application, is there essentially a first boat application that still needs to be acted on because we don't have the final agreement from the select persons, or are both applications in front of us right now?
Both applications are in front of us.
Okay.
As supplemental. They're using the new format.
But my question is, that application is actually seeking to get the first boat and the second boat approved today. And they're applying for 3-year licenses? Or How is
Well,
this going
this-
to work if the selectmen haven't really,
They're not here to have us approve it. They're here for us to make recommendations to the select board when they review
Oh,
these
okay.
applications.
Oh, right, okay. Because, and I hate to add any more fuel to the fire, but I'm wondering if it's helpful to, if there's an understanding, and I'm sure there is, that where these tables are they actually mutually agreed upon, where they'll be placed? Because one says right alongside the harbor master's hut, one just says sign and umbrella, no seat. So that was my question, and I just wonder, is that helpful? Are they, because some clearly have to be next to certain power poles, because that's where their phone and their power is, but.
Yeah, they go to the same place
Is it
every
a
year.
first come, first served?
No, no, it's the same place every year. They all have their spot, and it's been like that for a while. We've tweaked it a little bit over the last 10 years, but, yeah. I'd be surprised if someone said, "Can I move?"
Okay.
I think I would suggest that on the one that's got a second boat application that had problems getting going in 2019, that we just recommend to the select board that they address to their satisfaction any concerns about that it didn't operate last year, what are the plans for this year? And if they're satisfied that, yes, they intend to do it, and they can stipulate that if you don't, you got a problem in the fall, it's really up to them to make those decisions. But I think that we ought to flag the issue for them, and then Ray can talk to the select board and say, here's the deal, and then they can approve them. And I don't think that it shouldn't be mentioned if we're going to have that, because it's because of the 3-year lease in particular that I don't want to get started with the wrong assumption.
Right. So how could we possibly word that? Let's say the second boat, let's see, we would approve these applications with the assumption that the second boat only operates while the first boat is in operation.
Well, I'm not even sure I'd go that. The point is you have to have a first boat license, right?
Yes.
Then you get,
Operational. That
well,
was part of the deal. That's part of the stipulation.
well, I think that select people should
Well,
address that.
Right.
The point is there's an issue because last year it didn't run. So this year, if they say, well, we understand you didn't have staff and we're accepting your representation that you're gonna this year, so we approve both. And if we find out in November that
Right.
the first boat didn't go out, then you're gonna have problems. It's, like I say, it's
Yeah. The 3
starting a 3-year cycle
Absolutely.
with a misunderstanding that I want to avoid. So I would just recommend,
There is an annual review in the license.
Right.
Which allows for flagging.
And taking away a license if they don't meet the terms.
well, I just think that they ought to know.
No, I think it's a good idea.
I don't have a strong feeling either way, and we don't have the authority either way.
Right.
So I just want to make sure that they know that there was a problem in 19, which may not happen in 20, finest kind, but that, I don't want a year from now that people to be in the position, well, you already knew that I had this problem, and now you're saying I can't do it that way. So I just think that the people who sort of have power and authority over each other ought to start out with an explicit conversation and know what their understanding is. So I'd recommend that the other ones, in fact, I'd move that the other applications that we just recommend straightforward approval, and on this one, just recommend that the select board address the 2019 operation question in light of whatever they end up finally adopting as the licensing agreements, because we don't even know exactly what what they'll come up with.
So, how do we word that? We approve all applications
Let's,
with the,
let's just take it separately. It's Ray that has Williamson that has the two.
yes.
Yeah, so let's take that one, that's not in this motion. The first motion is we approve the other ones, period, or recommend approving. Then we'll do a motion on the Ray Williamson one.
Okay.
Can I say one thing? It might be a moot point. I think it's a good idea to tell the select board that a boat didn't run last year. But if we're talking about running you can't run a second boat if your first boat isn't in operation. If you lose your license on your first boat, you lose your table too, right? And then you can't sell tickets anyways. So it's almost like, I mean, you can run a second boat, you just can't sell tickets from your table, right?
No, you need to run, you need to.
I mean,
Second
Angica,
boat is a second boat.
But-
If you lose your slot for the first boat,
right,
you lose your slot for the second boat.
right, but the slot is just a table. Are we talking about the second boat as being on a private dock or a second boat?
No, he means that you can't sell tickets at your table. Because that's the
Yeah,
only
that's-
thing the second boat has.
Right, tickets at the table, so if you lose your table, you can't sell tickets from there.
That's correct. Now we're on board.
Okay.
I'm just saying, to me, it's a problem that resolves itself. If you lose your license on your first boat, you can't have a table, and you can't sell tickets.
Yeah, he hasn't lost a license on the first boat.
Yeah.
He's just not operated the first boat.
Right.
So,
That's been addressed in this new license, right?
yes.
Well, we don't know it's been addressed because, as far as I know, the terms of the first boat license haven't been adopted by the select board
Well,
yet.
that's true, yeah, exactly.
And
It's our
my whole
recommendation.
point that they may say, we don't even want to get into this thing about operating, not operating. We don't want the language that the harbor committee was suggesting we come up with. It's just,
I think you guys are on a
I
really
just
good.
think they ought to be
I think you're on
aware
a really
of
good
it.
track here. You know, go ahead and approve all of them, and then on that other one where you have a little bit of trepidation, just say we approve this. We just want to let you know. Just note that didn't run 2019, and I'm sure Ray will show up to that select board meeting, and they'll have a question for him. He'll answer it.
Okay, so first motion is to approve all day sailor applications except Ray.
right. We're not on this motion.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then,
Is there a second for that?
Sure.
No, I have a question. Why are we saying except Ray? Because it already says on here, didn't use it last year.
right, because now we're gonna address another motion for
Okay,
Ray.
all right.
I mean, we're not disapproving Ray.
No, okay, all right.
Okay? We're just saying that should be addressed and
Okay.
looked at.
Kathy, second?
Sure. For the first motion. Yep.
All in favor?
I think I vote today.
You vote today, yes.
Then I'd make a motion on the Ray Williamson one that we recommend approval as long as the select board is aware of 2018 and whatever ramifications it has for the license agreement they come up with for. Did I say 18? I meant 19.
19. Yeah, you
Not
could just
19.
say the boat wasn't in the water in 19.
Right.
Select board should look at this.
Right. I'm not even.
We recommend approval based on the understanding that the first boat will be operational.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all you need to know, because then they're going to say, what's this about?
Okay? Got it? Second? Approve. 5-0.
Mr. Chairperson, can I proceed, just a quick talk before we get into the fisherman applications? All of these applications, these people that are applying for the use of to have a permit to use the town fisherman area, have used it before, and I have no problems with them, except one. And the new,
Problem or used it?
no, I have no problem with any of them on the applications.
Plays well with others.
Plays well with others. Exactly. They communicate, for the most part, really well with each other. This new one, Wilbur, McCall, I've met him. He's a really affable and nice person. He knows all the other fishermen. What he wants to do is he doesn't actually catch lobsters. He has a license to buy and sell lobsters. He's talked to other fishermen. He wants to use the dock so he can literally buy their catch, and then him or one of his sons will bring the catch to market. And he also wants to sell a couple times a week, certain times. He wants to be able on the boat and let people come with totes and buy lobsters off his boat.
So how is he using the float for this? Is he, because I would imagine most people, if you were doing that, you bring your truck down when the person is in, and you take the lobsters off the boat. It's just a question of whose truck it's going into.
Well, Toby also has a float that's out in Sherman's Cove, and they can hang stuff off, so he could be with them saying, just go ahead and put it in 4 crates, and we'll let it sit for a day, because let price go up, and then go out and get it all. And
So he might use a boat to transport it. He might pick up the catch out there, bring the catch to the dock in his boat, and put it in his truck and go.
yeah.
Okay.
Do some of these operators use steamboat as opposed to the float?
No, the ones that are asking to use this don't use steamboat. There's 2 fishermen, Amy and Herb, that use steamboat, and Rainey Gagney uses steamboat as well. They don't ask for to use this because they don't want it. They want to pay the money, and they don't care if they have parking. So,
And they are, how many are they a resident fishing, or 5 traps, or more?
none of them are residents if they use steamboat.
So, no, I'm saying the number of
Commercial
traps that they fish.
Oh, I don't know.
It's more than 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What does using steamboat mean?
It means they,
Public.
yeah, they
Load and unload there at the steamboat landing.
early in the morning they'll
The
come.
actual catch or just in there?
Traps.
Oh,
Yeah. So far, it hasn't been an issue. I haven't heard any complaints.
I don't have any complaints. I have seen people whose names there with their boats at Steamboat. I'm not saying what they're there for, and I don't care, and they're very user-friendly. It's just that I've seen more than, I've seen some of those names at Steamboat.
Oh, yeah, that happens.
Okay.
But the people that use Steamboat specifically, that haven't asked for, the 3 lobstermen that use that, don't use the commercial fishing dock. So, yeah, Barney will always, early in the morning, hang out at Steamboat, because he does other things as well, takes people to islands.
So my only
Okay.
question about the applications was, and I know we don't even have to address it this year, but it was the notion, because I asked the question before the meeting, of if we're concerned in any way about resident, non-resident, because of the 11 for non-resident to Camden. They're all fairly local, Hope, Lincolnville, Appleton, and Swanville. But it's a point of contention or whatever it's a point in other different types of fee structures to have a non-resident resident, and it's just something I think we should think about. Again, I don't want to slow this process down, but
And that's something to address when we're discussing the fee schedule.
Next year, yeah.
And
yeah.
we've done that
Because
for
we have-
this year,
we've
so
flopped it
next
around.
year, I think we ought to look at it. I mean, there are, all the other harbors charge more for non-residents than they do residents.
Do the day sailors and, the other boat user license people have different resident, non-resident?
Yeah, they don't currently, no.
That's something you wanted to get into next year. Start talking about it. It's a good topic.
Okay, so what we have here for applications, commercial fisherman's float. Mark Bradstreet.
Mark and Kent, father and son, they,
32-foot.
yeah, no problem with those guys. They're good.
Kent Bradstreet. Is that 39 foot?
Mm-hmm.
No problem there.
No, he's He handles it really well.
David Emery. Lake night, 28 foot. Been there forever. Toby Winkelhoff, 35 foot. Fine. Art Tibbetts, 21 foot / 76 foot. So I assume we're approving the 21 foot.
Yeah. I've never seen either of them at the Fisherman Dock in 20 years.
Barney Appleton,
So wait, can you slow down with that comment? What are they buying then?
Pretend I didn't say that, Connie.
No. I mean, I'm curious. What is he buying? What is he paying for?
The use of that dock, I shouldn't say, once in a blue moon, he'll use that to get lumber or something onto his barge, because he builds docks as well, marine docks.
So he's using the fisherman's float or something else other than fishing?
Commercial, yeah. I mean, he has a commercial fishing license. I just know he doesn't use it here.
We know of other people who load and unload wood at Steamboat.
Yeah.
So this guy's paying $400 for the privilege of using a tool to make his life easier. That's not about fishing.
But he doesn't use it.
Are there limited numbers? There's no waiting list that someone's being kept from joining the club. I don't have a problem.
I don't have a problem, but I guess I would wonder, going back to, dare I say it, parking, how often do you use a parking spot? Just gonna put it out there.
does he use that parking?
I've never seen him.
Well, I think that goes to the question we can have at some other time.
Yeah.
Barney Appleton, 34 foot.
He's a slouch.
That was not public record. He is not. Okay, Arthur Andrews, 30 foot. Gary Talbot, 20 foot. He doesn't use it anymore, does he?
He uses it once in a while. Yeah, once in a while. He also uses Steamboat once in a while, too. He goes back and forth.
Yeah.
He doesn't fish much.
And this goes back to my question earlier about the question, do we use this to make is this your primary source of income? And everyone ticked it or said yes. And it just strikes me that if we're not going to deny an application, I just heard a couple people, clearly it's not their primary source. This application is not, this, for what they're
He
asking
says it's
for.
not. He says no.
I didn't see anyone who said no. Everyone ticked
That's
it yes.
Gary Talbot.
Okay, because I got a good answer on why we asked that question, because I remember thinking it's none of my business.
Why do we ask the question?
Because if there's a capacity, preference gets given to those who it is their primary source of income. But right now, we don't have.
Sense.
I'll be damned, you did say no.
We're okay with Gary Talbot?
Okay with all of them.
Brad Scott, 36 foot. Adam Scott, 35 foot. Wilbur McCall he's got listed on here, Plum Crazy, 42 foot.
If he never came in, then don't approve it. If you don't,
See that boat fitting on there.
yeah.
He never came in.
Well, we called him because he has two boats, Plum Crazy and Liquid Nitro, some kind of other boat, which is a wooden lobster boat, 32 feet, just like Barney's. And I called him and said, you need to come in and change that boat and then sign it, because there's some trepidation that, I mean, he's never going to bring Plum Crazy into that dock.
I don't know. There's the name.
There's the name. So he said, "Oh, okay, thanks, Steve." He said he'd come in and change that so you guys wouldn't have that, because he's got another boat which he intends to bring into the dock to sell his catch from, and bring the other lobsters in.
So he's
The
got a
point
boat.
is, I mean, if we approve this, it
Allowed.
says Plum Crazy, it's a 42-foot boat, that gives him the right to bring that boat in.
Is he also the one that wants to sell off the
Yes.
dock?
Well, I think,
Do we want that to happen? Because if he does it, then somebody else might do it, and somebody else might.
From a table.
What?
well, I don't
From a
think,
table.
Yeah, I don't see
Well-
that just happening. Ray's first vote.
No, it's second vote.
Yes.
I think Camden Harbor is probably one of the very few harbors in the coast of Maine that did not have a lobster buyer. And, you know, we say that we're a commercial harbor and fishing harbor, we get the hoist there and all that stuff, and it's just, he's finally trying to do something to help out the lobstermen in the area. I mean, there's guys, Toby has to load his lobsters in his truck, he's gotta drive to Rockland, they lose water when that happens, he gets a less of a price. Guys have to, I know the Scots, well, they mostly fish at Rockport, but we've got other guys, they're driving to Rockport, bringing their steaming their boats to Rockport, steaming their boats to Rockland. So, I mean, it would.
Well,
it
you
would
know,
help
he's,
out the harbor.
he's buying off of the mooring out there.
Yeah.
He's using the mooring
Yeah.
for Plum Crazy.
Yep.
So, you know, and that's not what we're deciding, whether he can do
Right.
that or not. We're deciding whether he can come into that dock
With a large boat.
with a large boat.
Yeah, you can't bring that boat.
well, I'd want to approve it and give him, under the proviso, that prior to the select board meeting on this, that he has come in to designate the
change.
proper boat.
Yeah. I mean, he's even had counseling and advice prior to this delayed meeting.
And he hasn't come in.
Hasn't done it.
So,
Is there a deadline for these applications?
well, this meeting.
Last meeting.
So if we say no to this application with Plum Crazy, that's it, he can't bring any boats in?
No, we're not even, but I guess why are we trying to
Or
say,
can we,
why are we
can we
looking
tell
for an
him,
excuse to
please
say no?
redo the application with the smaller boat?
You guys could say because of the big boat, you guys decided not to do it. You advised the harbor master at this time not to accept it. Now, between that time, you could say, if he comes in and signs this with a smaller boat, then you got no problem with it. Someone could make a motion to that effect right
That's
now.
what I'm saying, is that the others, we just recommend approval. This one, we would only recommend approval if prior to the select board, he comes in and
Yeah.
designates the smaller boat on the application.
And signs it. Signs the change. Yeah,
And who communicates this?
I could do that. Again,
What is the smaller boat?
it's a wooden Luff's boat that looks just like Barney's boat,
Which is what, about 26 or 30?
31.
All right, so the motion would be that we approve all applications except Wilbur McCall.
As applied.
There's another-
That's the first motion.
Well, yeah, we're not saying let's just leave Wilbur McCall out.
Yep.
All the other ones recommend approval, period.
Yes.
That's
Second?
his motion.
Oh, we have a question.
Right.
This is related to that application, I think, but are we, or are you approving the business about, as part of this package, the guy to come down and sell bait on the
No.
landing?
No, so sell lobsters on that?
No, to sell lobster bait. There's a guy that's been coming down, I don't know if it's the same person or not, but there's been a person that was selling bait to the fishermen, pulling up with a truck last year. And as much as we love the fragrance of bait barrels and bait curry, it was definitely impacted the public landing last year. So I don't know whether this is part of an application or this is a totally different subject, but if there's a hose down there, if somebody's coming down there and they're unloading bait and there's gurry on the landing, it should be mandatory that they, hose it down and clean it up.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with us,
Yeah, that,
these applications.
yeah, that doesn't.
But
apply
we'll
to
note,
that.
we'll definitely note that, Ray, and if I see the fisherman, I can tell them to tell their gurry man that he's got to get the hose out.
Now, does that mean that someone's coming and leaving bait on the dock, and then the fisherman comes in at some other time? Or I'll meet you there at 9:30, and they do their thing?
It doesn't really matter because the gurry gets on the ground anyway from slopping around, and then it sits there in the sun and starts to stink real bad.
Right, but that, whether the lobsterman
Transaction.
does it themselves, goes and gets it and brings it and leaves the smell, or whether they meet someone there, it's the lobsterman who shouldn't be leaving the smell, right? Not the bait guy.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't seen it, but from what I understand is there's some, the pavement is broken, or there's some potholes that just kind of prevents it from washing over the side.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously when we redo the thing, I won't be there, but no, I can definitely talk to the fishermen and say, you guys can't have it. You guys,
Just clean it up.
yeah.
Okay. So,
First motion, which
all in
was,
favor?
well, the first,
Yeah, so now there's the Wilbur.
Now we come to
Liz
Wilbur.
wrote down the motion, so we've got it on record.
So I move that we recommend approving Wilbur if he comes in and signs and designates, is there a name for the smaller boat?
Yeah, it's called like liquid oxygen or liquid fire, some kind of name like that.
Designates the smaller boat.
Yeah,
In place of, we don't recommend approving
yeah, plumb crazy.
Ron Crazy.
Right, so
So if he comes in before, do you know when the select board will be taking?
17th.
So if he comes in by the 17th and does that, then we are recommending it. If he doesn't, we are not recommending it.
we're not being as generous next year with this.
get that, Liz?
I did. Do we have a second?
Second,
In favor?
We're good?
We good?
We're good.
Looking good. Thanks, guys.
Question, the fishermen, commercial fishermen don't have a license agreement per se. Is that right?
Oh, they hold a permit for the year.
Which, this is the permit.
Yes, this will be their permit.
No license agreement such as for the day sailors or the windjammers.
No, there's nothing like an agreement that says